Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Tanya Gustafson here, your nutritionist and fitness coach with Fit Nutrition. Welcome to another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. So I'd love to know where everybody's watching in from, whether excuse me, where you tune in from. Thank you for those of you who can pop on live. Love having comments there, whether you're watching live or on the replay. So do put your comments in the chat if you're, as you're going through and listening to this, and if you have questions, please ask, and I will come back and answer them. I can't do it live because I want to keep, engaging here. So just double checking and making sure that we're streaming. And yes, it looks like we are. That's fantastic. Okay, so today, what I want to talk about is, we always talk about that we are not depriving ourselves in this group, right? Or, wherever you happen to be. But in this group, we definitely are saying that we're not depriving ourselves with anything. So that being said, you're saying, well, Tanya, when I get started, I'm advised to, remove inflammatory foods. And I'm saying, yes, we are. That's not depriving ourselves. There's a difference. And I want to talk about that today. So that's why I titled this Deciding to Defer. So we're not giving up. We're not saying, oh, I can never have that again. We're not saying, nope, you can't eat that. What we're saying is there's a set of foods that are very inflammatory, and they're causing you to they're not serving your body. Okay. They're not serving your goals. They're not serving your health. And so what we want to do is it's kind of like taking your car in for an oil change, right? When you take the car in for the oil change, the mechanic never asks you, hey, do you want to leave the dirty filter in? Have you ever had anyone ask you that? No, right? Nobody does that, because we know that if we leave the clogged up dirty oil filter in there and he just changes the oil and puts the nice fresh oil in there, it's going to filter through all the junk. It's going to be slower moving. It's going to be not as great quality when it gets to the other side, and then it's going into your engine. So, it's not really giving it that proper fuel, the clean energy that it needs. Same with our bodies, right? That car in the driveway is your vehicle that drives you around town. This is your vehicle that drives you through life. So we want to really take care of it. Think about that car in the driveway again. If you only ever had one, there's no lease agreements, there's no upgrades, there's no, you never got any, no new cars. That's it. You only get one. How well would you take care of it? Probably pretty good. I'm sure you take care of it really well now, but you would make extra effort to make sure that you don't neglect those things and you get on it right away, so that you don't get stranded somewhere, so that you don't get without a ride and you're forced to be inconvenienced, and then life is a little bit more difficult when you can't get where you need to go. Right? Are you tracking with me? Okay. So if our body is our vehicle that drives us through life, we only get one, we want to take care of it the very best way that we can. So just like the mechanic removes the dirty filter, that's what we are doing when we decide to defer from these inflammatory foods just for a window of time to then change the filter, right? We take all that stuff out. We allow our body to flush it out, to kind of detox, if you will, give us a little reset, flush out your kidney and liver, our body's filtering systems, and just start from a place of health, from a place of being clean, putting clean foods in that don't have those inflammatory properties. Now, and then that's for a window of time. And then we learn how to add some things back without any guilt. And that's the thing. So I'm not advocating that you would then dump a whole bunch of inflammatory things into your body, just like I wouldn't be saying, hey, you know what? You just went and got the oil changed in your car. So go ahead and, put the wrong gas in your tank, or go ahead and put some sugar in that gas tank, or go ahead and, don't put the gas cap on right so that all the dirt gets in there. No, we wouldn't ever do that either, right? But we know over time that little bits, even though however well we take care of it, little bits are going to get in there. And so again, we go back to the mechanic and we get the oil changed yet again. And we do that a couple times a year, right? So thinking about that is where you want to be thinking about the same idea, the same thought process that you think about with your car as you do with your body. And honestly, over the years, I've seen people who take much better care of that car in the driveway than they do the one that's getting them through life. And we got to kind of shift that thinking a little bit. We got to take care of this at least as good as we take care of the one in the driveway, right? Because this is where you live. If you don't take care of your body, where will you live? Okay, so what are those inflammatory foods that we are choosing? It's a choice. It's always a choice, right? And you'll just notice, I just encourage you though to plug into that choice and really, really own that and really live that and really just see how good you can feel. So before I dive into the list of things that we want to choose to defer from and to just choose to leave out for a little bit, thinking about, deciding to do that and making that change, I would just want you to challenge you to see how good you can feel and where that leads you afterwards when we say that, hey, we can add some of those things back in. All right. A lot of times I have found that there are many items that people choose not to put back in because they realized how much those things were not serving them, how much they were actually hindering them, not just not serving them, but actually hindering their progress, their health, the way they were not, feeling during the day. Maybe they had brain fog, maybe stomach upset, digestive issues, focus and concentration, poor sleep. There's a whole bunch of things that come from putting the wrong fuel into our bodies. And each one of us is a unique individual, correct? I'm sure everyone will agree with me on that. And so just because something doesn't agree with me doesn't mean that it's, that it's not going to be good for you. So that is where when we choose to remove the known inflammatory items, things that are more difficult for your body to digest. So we can give it a rest. We can give it a little reset. We can give it a break. We can flush it out and start from a place of health and be nice and clean and then build from there. Then as you choose to add whichever ones you want back in, and we're going to do it incrementally so that you can actually have some data for yourself on which ones are serving you and which ones aren't, then you will know exactly what it is for you. Okay, does that make sense? All right, if you're tracking with me, give me a 1 down below, okay? All right, here we go. So the things that we know cause inflammation pretty much across the board with most people are gluten, soy, dairy, sugar, and fake sugars, got to count those in there, alcohol, and coffee. Okay, so those are kind of the nasties. I call those like the 6 nasties, basically, because do we really need them in our lives? Not really. Now people are going to go, whoa, Tanya, wait a minute. Where am I going to get my calcium from if you're telling me to pull out dairy? Well, number one, I'm not telling you to pull it out forever. And number 2, you're going to get an awful lot more calcium from things like almonds and broccoli and your deep, richly colored, deep, rich green leafy vegetables. There's a whole bunch of other ways you can get that. Plus which, if you happen to be someone who struggles with iron absorption, your levels of iron keep dropping, you're going to want to stay away from dairy because that actually inhibits the absorption. You're also going to want to stay away from caffeine. That also inhibits the absorption. Okay, so you're going to find out some things about your body as you go and remove those kinds of things and just do a little testy. Okay, so removing those: gluten, soy, dairy, sugar, fake sugar, alcohol, and coffee. Okay. And if you're that person that says, oh my gosh, I don't think that I can get rid of coffee. You know what? Again, it's always a choice. It's always a choice. I do, say, give it a few days just to see if you can do it. What I will tell you is that if you have been having coffee every single day, even if you only have one, there's a continuous stream that's entering your body all the time. Your body's used to it. And so when you cut off something that your body's used to, suddenly, oftentimes, you're going to get that little bit of a detox feeling. You're going to get maybe lethargic, maybe a bit headachy, maybe a bit brain foggy, maybe a bit yawny and tired. And that's okay. That's normal. What I would like to say though, is if you feel that headache is really starting to, I don't really, it's maybe going to go to a migraine. Don't let it go there. Don't let it get to a bad headache or a migraine. Just go ahead and have a half a cup of coffee or a half a cup of green tea, something with a little bit of caffeine just to knock it back. You may have to do that on day 1 and day 2. By day 3, you should be fine and you won't even notice it. And what people find, they come back and tell me a lot is that, after the first week, they're like, they don't even really miss their coffee because, 8 to 9 people out of 10 are drinking that coffee in the morning because they need an energy boost, not because they just like that warm experience. There's there is a demographic of people who just like that warm experience. And if that's you, you can replace that with herbal tea. There's something else. You still get that nice warm or hot lemon drink, hot lemon and water or lime or whatever your favorite flavor is. You can have that in the morning, and that's going to give you that same experience, that same relaxing comfort at the start of your day without that caffeine. Now, the caffeine, the coffee first thing in the morning, if you're having a coffee on an empty stomach, I'm just going to give you a little tip here. It will spike your blood sugar. We've seen data on that. Even if you're having it black, if you're having it with cream and sugar, it's going to, there it goes. It's even going to go higher. Okay. So just a little tip, you're going to find that you're going to regulate your blood sugar much better without that infusion of coffee first thing in the morning. Okay. And then you'll also find, if you're that person that, finds, you get the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon kind of crash, you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I need a nap. What's going on? And you have to get up from your desk and walk around and have some water. Can't wait till coffee break. Then you run over to Starbucks or run over to Tim's or whatever. If you ever notice how busy those places are in the afternoon, right? Okay, so when you're not stabilizing your blood sugar, when your body is having a constant supply of those inflammatory type foods that I mentioned, that's when you're going to experience those crashes during the day. And what my clients find most often is that when they've removed them, after about the first week or so, that energy level starts to come up because the body's cleaned out and it's not slogging through stuff. You know what it's like when there's a heavy snow or you're trying to walk in the sand on the beach, you try and go for a run. You can't run nearly as fast as you can on pavement, right? Because you're kind of like pushing through it. That's what it is for your body. It's been trying to push through all these things. Your liver and your kidneys or things are trying to sort through all of that kind of stuff because it's a continuous supply. If we've been having it every day, builds up, and then we get that sluggish feeling. So we can pull all that out. We've removed the dirty filter, right? Then everything is free flowing and we do have more energy once it gets all flushed out. Okay, the other things, so those aren't really real food items. I mean, the dairy is a real food item. Most of the other things are not so much. I mean, people say, well, soy is a real food item. Okay, edamame beans, soybeans are real food items. Soy, processed tofu over here in North America is very, very low quality. It is actually classified as a complete protein. Yes, it is. But it's just such a poor quality of processing over here that most people experience digestive upset and, gurgly tummy, maybe lots of gas and bloating when they have soy, because and it's used in a lot of things because people are, we know the importance of having protein, but soy is a very cheap protein. So it's easy and cheap to add to products to say that now we have a protein source in it. Okay, so does that make sense? Quality matters, and you will feel it in your body when you're giving your body something that's not, that doesn't work for it. Okay, so pay attention to that. So the other things that we want to pull out are, real food items, and we're not pulling those out forever either, just because they're a little bit more difficult. They're denser, they're harder for your body to digest, and we just want to give it a rest for a little bit. Okay, it's been working hard. There's been a lot of buildup in there. You're doing this for a reason because you weren't feeling good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the grains, the dense beans, lentils, chickpeas, those kinds of things. So your dense beans, not your green beans or your yellow beans, but maybe the things like that you would put in chili. So kidney beans or black beans or that sort of an idea. Okay, you get the idea there. And then also removing the starches. So the potatoes, sweet potatoes, yams. Okay, so pulling all of those things out, and we're just going with whole food, proteins, fats, and carbs. Alrighty, so you can check the files list, the files tab at the top of this group there. If you haven't got your clean foods list, and you can check in there, there's one in there. And that's what you're going to want to avoid, the things that are inflammatory on that list. You're going to avoid them for your Fit in 4. For your first 4 weeks, at least your first 3 weeks, but 4 is better. So get yourself started and organized. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get going on the first week and then continuing on. And you'll find that as you get going, as you get balanced better and go, and get into the rhythm of it, you'll find that you have more energy. you'll find that you'll start feeling hungry, and that is a good thing. So I just want to caution people who say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling hungry. I need to cut back because I'm going to gain weight. And that's the reason I started this in the first place, is that I want to lose weight. When you're starting to feel hungry and you've been fueling your body with a clean protein, a fat, and a carb in the right portions, in the right frequency throughout the day, and you start to feel hungry, that is your metabolism turning back on. Your body is now saying, oh my gosh, I'm cleaned out. I'm getting fuel. I'm getting consistent fuel. Okay, I can start releasing this fat that I've been hanging on to, because now I've got this trusting relationship that I'm building up, and it's good, and I'm feeling good. So then it can start to release that. Okay, I hope that makes sense to everybody. When you build that relationship of trust with your body, our bodies love routines. Do you ever notice that you feel better when you go to bed about the same time every night and wake up same time, wake up? Anyone who has kids, you know that when that gets disrupted, they're not so happy the next day, right? Our bodies really love routine. You know that when you go away on vacation, it's fun to get away, but we always want to come home and then get back to our regular routine, right? So our bodies love routines. And when it's out of routine, it's a little bit, wonky. And as soon as we can get it back into that routine that we were born into, blood sugar stabilization is our body's love language. We were literally born into eating and functioning this way, right? Think about anyone who has a child or has been around small children. What do they want to do the first thing when they wake up in the morning? Eat. Or if they're baby, they'll wake up several times through the day. What do they want to do every time they wake up? Eat. What do they want to do 3 to 4 hours later? Eat. You go on an outing with a small child and you forget a snack. Oh my gosh, it's a terrible thing. Even if you have teenagers in the back, even if you have your spouse and you're out and you're past lunchtime or dinner time and you get a little hangry, it's not fun hanging out with hangry people, right? Our bodies are designed to fuel consistently, right? Think of those babies. They cry when they're hungry. They stop eating when they're satisfied. 3 or 4 hours later, they cry when they're hungry. They stop eating when they're satisfied. You can't stuff them. They don't overeat. What are they eating? Right? Babies are eating a balance. A breast milk or formula is a balance of a protein, a fat, and a carb together. And they do that in the right portions, in the right frequency throughout the day consistently. And so when we get back to that, we should get back to that. Our insides haven't changed as we have gotten older. We are just a larger human. Our organs are still the same. Our digestive is still the same. It got bigger, right? It's the same, but it's the same. We're taking in nutrients the same way. We're chewing it instead of drinking it, but our body is metabolizing it and using it in the same way that it was when we were a baby. So when we get back to that, it's like your car on cruise control on the highway in the summertime. It's a beautiful ride. Maybe you have a convertible, the top is down, you're on cruise control, there's hardly any traffic, you're just enjoying the ride, you got your favorite music on. It's a lovely, lovely ride. So when your body's on cruise control, it's a lovely, lovely ride. You're feeling really great. You have energy. Your metabolism is working. Your body's releasing stored fat. You're building muscle. You're just feeling energized and good. Your immune system is supported, so you're healthier. You don't get sick as often. There's a whole bunch of great benefits. Your digestive is working well. Your hormones are balanced. It's a good place to be. When we get out of that balance, you come off the highway, you take the off ramp, you get into downtown traffic in that huge city, the nearest big city in the summertime with tourists who don't know where they're going, and your air conditioning breaks and you're stuck in traffic in the summer and it's super hot. It's not a fun day. You feel uncomfortable, you feel out of sorts, you feel grumpy, you feel tired, you feel frustrated. If you've ever felt any of that in your body, right? Unhealthy bodies are giving us signs. If you're not sleeping well, if you have low energy, if your body is gaining weight or it's refusing to lose the weight and you think you're doing all the things, I'm eating healthy, why isn't this happening? There are reasons, right? There's maybe things aren't balanced. We need to focus on all of those 6 plates we talked about before. And if you haven't looked at the 6 plates, go back and watch some of these podcasts. They're in there. So we have to focus on our health. And when we do that, when we get back to the basics of putting in those perfectly, those balanced proteins, fats, and carbs that are clean, and we flush out all the junk and we start from a place of health and we build from there, When we put our bodies on cruise control, we get back into the way we were born to eating, and we create that trusting relationship. We get the results that we need, want, and deserve. Good health is not reserved just for the precious few over there. No, everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves optimal health. And when you focus on your health and you get to your optimal health, you will get to your optimal weight. So, all right. Thanks for watching here today, you guys, on another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. Come back again next Wednesday, same time, same place, and we'll be back right here with another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. Have an awesome Wednesday.